OBS, manage broadcast, select broadcast.
What's going on, everybody?
The Senior Bowl Day 1, live from Mobile.
Everybody, watch your ass.
Select.
Live from Mobile, Alabama. Talking about the Senior Bowl. Talking Senior Bowl. Let us know if you look good, if you sound good, because that is what we're here to do. My name is Justin Penik. The football grump is next to me. Bobby Skinner is to his left. And all the way at the end is Robert Schmitz. This is the crew that you've known to love in Mobile, Alabama the last few years. Fellas, we're live.
Live from the stadium, right? So this is, usually we do our button-up video from here, and then, we kind of have some beers, hang out for the live stream. Let us have beers. Fun practice. The American team, it gave me, the juice. We want to go to the chat here. Rob, I'll kick it to you first. What was your standout for the day?
Sure. So it's funny, right? Because you're always going to divide between early practice standout and later practice standout. And at least when it came to wide receivers and QBs, who I like to focus on, we've had some really solid standouts. So one of the ones that I have to mention is Quinyon Mitchell. So that's the DB out of Toledo, and he looks phenomenal. It's a hard guy to find all 22 of. So it's nice to get to come out and see him play live, and against whether it's Devontae Walker, whether it was Brennan Rice, whether it was Brandon Cowing, whoever he matched up against them pretty much flawlessly. And then in the later half, at least for me, Ladd McConkey was hard not to talk about, the Georgia receiver. I mean, his biggest red flag, Bobby, is that he looks like a walk-on in pads, right? But his footwork is outstanding. DB talent in the American team is a little more dull, but I'm glad that we like our OLDL matchups there because wide receiver got a little one-sided on that side.
I think that's interesting because I don't know about you guys, but I always come down here with some level of preconceived notions, right? And when I looked at the roster sheet, I saw a list of really good-looking DBs on the American team, and yet Quinyon Mitchell from the national team was the one that looked like he belonged the most.
A lot of the DBs that you liked from the American team looked like they dropped because at least what we ended up getting in the American team, we didn't get Kalen Carson from Wake Forest, who was somebody I was really excited to see. Instead, DJ James is probably the best corner that's on that side. And a lot of the best DBs on the American squad play safety, who they mixed in as much as they can, but safeties in one-on-ones. It's never what you see in the real football game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. With Quinyon Mitchell, I was reading something on him yesterday because, like you said, there's no all-22. Talking about first-round buzz on him. Like, okay, watch out for him. And then in between team drills, saw a tweet like, hey, he's really showing off. So focusing him on team drills and immediately started popping off. There was a hitch, like a little hitch flat to Brendan Rice. And he was playing 5 yards off. And then, bam, played up on that ball. I think Bo Nix threw it. And made a nice play on that, and it just shows that he moves better than everyone. Now he's on my tomorrow. I'm watching this guy intently every single time I get the opportunity. With the quarter, I mentioned Bo Nix. Want to do a little QB talk?
Let's talk QBs.
To me, I think Michael Penix is the best one out here, and I don't think it's that close right now. Penix, again, these are not the guys going in the top 5 in the draft. So there's going to be flaws about them. But I watched Bo Nix, and I watched some film of him before coming down here and was like, man, I'm just not impressed with this. I don't think he sets his feet. I think he's inaccurate for as high as his completion percentage is. And even on, wide receivers warming up, Robert, not against DBs, the ball was not coming out with quick velocity. It was wobbly at sometimes, and it wasn't perfectly accurate. And for the guy that's supposed to play quarterback like that, those are the things that you would expect to be nailed down. And I came away really unimpressed with Bo Nix.
The best thing I think we could say about Bo Nix is that he is the kind of quarterback you're expecting to shine in a football game. Right? 11 on 11. Take a look at what the defense is doing and distribute to your playmaker. And the Senior Bowl can often be, okay, yeah, you're wearing shorts underneath your pads, stand back there and rocket some footballs, which is much more up Michael Penix's alley. But I mean, that's me being nice, Bobby.
I thought
because-
Sam Hartman played better than
I was
Bo
going
Nix.
to say, yeah, if you come to just throwing the football, which after like 7 years in college, Bo Nix should have like a doctorate in throwing the football. It's the one thing that he doesn't do well as a quarterback, at least it looks like. And even Sam Hartman, when it came to throwing the football, it looked like he threw a better ball.
He was faster.
At least in the
ended up
short and
being the
intermediate
fastest
range.
quarterback,
Oh, that's
which I
true,
thought
too.
was just hilarious. It's not like they ran often, but Sam Hartman ended up clocking 18.9 miles an hour. Thank you, Zebra Technology, for that.
Penix, I think some of the flaws did show up on him too, though, was that, hey, when there was pressure, there was no like ability. And again, he's not getting hit or anything, but even within that, there was like no ability or want to escape. And it was like, okay, this play's called dead. Where a lot of QBs, even in these practices where they can't hit, they'll try and at least act like they escaped
Right.
and go and make a throw.
Right.
Where Penix wasn't doing that. So I thought Penix looked good though. Like he operated the offense, he got the ball out quick, on time, accurately. Was able to hit all areas of the field, even like some simple concepts. For the knock on him, like, hey, the most pro-style defense he played in Michigan, he really struggled. Well, you're getting pro-style defenses down here, and I thought he was clearly the best QB.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was one other standout I heard about from the national side, and you guys that were watching offensive line, tell me about Jackson Powers Johnson, the center of Oregon, because I heard he just had a hell of a day.
Well, he's just got an anchor, and we talked to him this morning, and he talked about like I like to be nasty, and he plays with that edge and wanting to be violent, and that showed up. He had the anchor in the run play. He was getting chippy and knocking some guys around. He was really impressive to watch. And I think he can move around to center and guard, even though he was mostly at center today, or if not exclusively. But the offensive lineman I like the most on the actually we're doing live streaming, so we're not going National American.
Yeah.
Since you brought up offensive line, the American team offensive line got me like having some nice practice. They got me giddy. Like I was all up in the stands, got me giddy. Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, who's 6'7", 328. Christian Haynes, the guard out of UConn, who was like maybe the guy I was focusing in on the most here, right? Every time he was up, I would grump like, "Hey, look, Christian Haynes." And then the Texas offensive tackle Christian Jones, to a little lesser degree, Guyton was awesome. Like he looked like a first-round tackle, right? Where he was quick out of his stance, he was patient with his hands, he absorbed the bull rush, and then was able to finish plays. And then Christian Jones was, unless they moved him to center, which he missed those snaps, like he's never played center. He had like very similar stuff where he brought the punch to the defensive lineman. But it also, like Grump, we were talking about it. I was like really disappointed in the D line for the American team. Like they all were bulls and powers, and like the offensive line dominated on the American team, and it actually made it frustrating when they win the team drills because they kept running the ball when it was and checking it down. Like the offense they were running was like quick game stuff because the offensive line was dominating. Right, and a lot of times the offensive line is a pain in the ass because it stops you from creating big plays in these settings.
Right,
and they were just like dominating, and the national team or the American team wasn't like using that to its advantage as in a practice.
Yeah, that's what we should be taking these practices in a bubble for a reason, right? So we were saying, I can't believe that this entire practice, the defensive line is literally just throwing their bodies into the offensive lineman. And if it didn't work, they would try a spin move. And that was pretty much the extent of what we saw.
Okay.
Now, if that continues throughout the week, then we have something there. If not, it may be that they were coached to do one thing or the other, but it was definitely a strange dominance on one side of the ball there.
And Justin, we were talking about Darius Robinson on Talking Giants this morning. And I was like, son of a bitch, I've been fooled too many times by these guys who don't have the best get off in the world, but man, they are strong, right? They bring the power. They have good film against good offensive linemen in college. And then they come down here, whether it was Patrick Jones from Pitt in 2021, last year with Keon White and Isaiah McGuire, and they just don't do anything. They have no bag in what they do. And to me, that's what Darius Robinson out of Mizzou did. Like 6'5", 287, strong as shit. And he just did nothing as a pass rusher unless he lined up over the guard once, bumped inside. And he had a good move, but even then it wasn't a great move. But he did have some good stuff in the run. But I was really disappointed in the D-line, defensive tackle edge group, kind of across both practices. Like Laitu Latu, the UCLA, he's like projected to go top 10. Like I did not see a top 10 player out here, right? And he already has like the age and injury history of going against him. and he had some good wins, but he was nowhere near what a top 10 pick should do out in the Senior Bowl setting.
I think the one thing that he showed today, because I was a little definitely disappointed with him as well, but I think the one thing that he showed is there were multiple times where I'm like, you should be on the ground right now. And I think he showed that bend. And you go back, I think DeMarcus Ware is the guy in the NFL that I just think if you have such bend, it looks like you literally should be on the ground. It looks like you should be pancaked right now. So I think he showed good bend, but outside of that, did he have like dominant wins? No, I was looking for it, and it certainly wasn't there.
Why don't we go to the chat and see what they're doing?
Let's go to the chat. We have two different chats up right now. Hello, Talk Giants. Hello, JM Football.
Recon_P has one.
How has Xavier Legette looked so far today?
So me and Grump, you were watching. Like, what'd you think of him? Because you didn't watch him as much as I did coming in. I came in kind of hyped.
Yeah.
I saw some good things, but I also didn't see like the wow that I was expecting either.
Yeah, so I did like no work on him coming down here. So every plane trip down here, I had a layover. I was running into someone that was telling me to get ready for Xavier Legette, and I was ready for him, and I didn't see it. This was an odd day, and that's even in individual drills where the wide receivers arguably have an advantage. He wasn't coming down with the football. He didn't look like he was getting separation. He doesn't look like a bad wide receiver, but at no point was I wowed. No point.
Yeah, I saw like some good fundamental stuff. Like he had good releases. I thought he could set some stuff up with the DBs. He just didn't finish when he had like some of those contested catch opportunities, which he is really good at.
Right.
Now, I think part of it was some bad quarterback throws too, including in one-on-one. So I wouldn't hold it fully against him. But what I did see some like crispness, but you also like he's got some nice big yak plays. He's only 6'1", but he plays really big. But he wasn't able to like really run up away from some of the DBs like I was hoping to see.
It's funny talking about a player like Legette. He reminds me of somebody who was here just last year in Jonathan Mingo a lot, where you have a player that is big enough to play on the outside, that classic X receiver, but he profiles a little better as far as at playing Z, at least based on how he likes to play the game. And that means he's going to do a lot of things for you. Like you're talking about, he looked fast today. He's got good releases, all the things you mentioned, Bobby, and I did think the quarterbacks killed him. But he didn't exactly look the same way we saw Brenton Rice look, which surprised me because I've been pretty low on Rice, at least as we got initial work up towards the Senior Bowl. But you can tell which of these guys are preparing for life on the outside, and Legette did not seem to be one of those guys. Maybe we'll see more tomorrow.
You mentioned
all eyes are being on him.
You mentioned Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son. He made some good plays in that. You're right. He finished plays, big plays. I was like shocked at the Penn State corner, Johnny Dixon, who lined up on him. How he looked like he just like he was playing backyard football where there's no one caring what you're doing. Like he was literally like trying to tackle him.
More than
and
once.
Brendan Rice was able
to
stay strong and be like, okay, I'm going to get off of you. And then what are you going to do? And they would throw the ball deep, and he made some big plays. Shea Tierney got really pumped about one of the plays that he made. So I don't know if I come away from this being like, oh, like Brendan Rice had a good day. Like, oh, Brendan Rice, man, he's going to rise up draft boards. I honestly focus more on Johnny Dixon. Like, what is your plan of attack out here? Because this is like his stock has to drop after. Like, what do you do? Like, why are you tackling him? Trying to tackle him every play.
I can tell you though that on Caleb Williams' USC film, there were definitely moments where I was disappointed with Brendan Rice's lack of physicality. So that was actually a note that I was watching for, where when Brendan Rice showed up, and again, we're talking about somebody who played more physical than Devontae Walker. We're talking about somebody who played more physical than Javon Baker. I mean, there were other guys who could easily vie for that best X receiver of the day category, that he was able to take the title. It's something that matters, even if day one practice Senior Bowl best X receiver in the national team is a tiny little crown. You know?
I want to mention Devontae Walker. He did it. It was him and Kalen King were going up against 1v1 at the end of the first practice, and Kalen King delivers a punch. I think he might have mistimed it, but I think Walker also did a nice job avoiding it at the line and just beats him right away. Goes and takes a slant back to the house. We got a question about Roman Wilson too.
I want to bring him up. Yeah,
I was glad to during 11 on 11. It was Hartman to Wilson in the slot. Just a simple run a streak down the field, and he kind of split the two safeties. But he won the play at the release. Kind of playing press closer to the line of scrimmage, and Wilson just gives a little shimmy right at the snap. wins that route right away, splits the two safeties, and it's a touchdown for the national team early in the morning. So Roman Wilson did look pretty good today and had that big touchdown in 11 on 11.
I got to rewatch that play because I thought it was like you mentioned the release, but like you said, it was the two safeties, right? So middle field open. But I thought he did a good job. I think there was a defender who might have been matching up with him, who he kind of like bent that inside and got him away, and then broke it, not out but up, and then was just wide open and Hartman hit him. He also had like a really nice catch on an over from Penik. He did some good stuff in the quick game. Like he, to me, like out of all the wide receivers,
he was like one of the best ones today.
I thought so.
Yeah, if you ask me which wide receiver had the best day, to me it's clearly Roman Wilson.
Yeah.
Like Ladd McConkey, I thought played well. Like was the best had the best day from the American team, but just out of both teams, Roman Wilson was the one I was really hyped with. It kind of reminded me about how Jaden Reed did down here. Another shorter wide receiver.
It's so funny you mentioned Jaden Reed. I thought he looked a little bit more like Tank Dell in the same sense of we kept discounting that Roman kept winning because we kept going, that's the small guy running away from everybody. Like, don't think too hard about that down here. But Tank had a huge season last year.
Yeah.
So
but also,
obviously this means something.
I would also say that today Roman Wilson didn't just run. Like when we saw Tank Dell last year, he ran a lot of he won a lot of his routes. But most of where he shined was within 10 yards. Today we saw Roman Wilson go all over the field. And that my favorite thing about that is that that's the perfect application for the Senior Bowl. Is like somebody who doesn't get to showcase all of their skills in the scheme that they run in college. So it was really nice to see Roman Wilson just take that and run with it today.
Do we have anything from the chat, Justin?
Yeah, but what are we looking at in the guard position? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but one guy I want to bring up from Arkansas, Bayou, what's his last name?
Bo Limner, I think it is.
Bo, I mean, that's a guy that definitely not on my radar coming into this. Just plays nasty. I mean, just really plays a nasty brand of football. Really excited to continue to look at his 1v1 reps. Bobby, did you talk about the guard from UConn yet?
Yeah, Christian Haynes. Right, I was really impressed with him. He was again maybe the guy I was looking forward to watching the most outside of Xavier Legette and Cam Kinchins, and he did not disappoint. Unless when they put him at center, which was. Can I say something since this is the live stream and not the recap video? Who is the national team head coach?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, I need to find that out because I do not like the way that they ran the practice.
Yeah, the American practice certainly felt.
No, forgive me. The American team practice.
There was a lot of dead time for the second practice. A lot of everything is clocked on the scoreboard, and there was a lot of time with double zeros where we're standing around doing nothing.
They're only in shells. They're running the ball like crazy, right? And I just these need to be a little bit more passing academies than run the ball. You got to run it,
right?
But they're also like running draws, which is like what are we accomplishing down here by running draw? Like multiple. What
I mean, it was
evaluation
like 8 out of 10 plays.
What evaluation happens against running a draw? Like again, if you're running a real practice where you're trying to make your team better and prepared, or game planning running draw plays. But I couldn't stand the way that they ran the practice, and like I said, their offensive line was dominant, and they ran an offense like they had no offense. Like let's see these guys go out there and shine a little bit and try and make some plays. And I didn't like. They ran their offense like they were scared of the defense, and it just was. That's not what a Senior Bowl practice is supposed to be to me. But anyways,
Jared Riley,
TCU tight end. I like him. So,
I think he's looking up the coach, but that's Jared Wiley, right?
Wiley, yes. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, so we aren't talking about the coach then. We're talking about the
Are we
tight ends.
Jared Riley or Jared Wiley?
Wiley.
Wiley.
We got a question about Wiley.
I thought
He
Wiley
falls
played
off.
really well. I thought all three tight ends on the American side had their little shining star moment. Ben Sinnott, in particular, out of Kansas State, looked phenomenal. Like maybe playing his way well up the board. He can move, but what he's really showing in these Senior Bowl moments is that he can block like a maniac. But Jared Wiley is bigger and frankly looks more athletic than I think a guy his size is often going to get credit for. AJ Barner's the little standout tight end from the national side, and I thought Jaheim Bell is the only one I haven't mentioned by name. Jared Wiley and Ben Sinnott all eclipsed pretty much the entire other side. So kudos to them. He's a lot of fun. I'm hoping to see more.
I saw you tweet about him yesterday, and me and Justin were talking about this. Jaheim Bell, the tight end at FSU, he had a good day.
He's so fast.
But here's my question: what do you do with a 6'1" tight end?
Right.
It looks outrageous. Like
It does.
if you're in the stands and you're like, what is this dude putting his hand in the dirt for?
if it was me, right, you basically are going to use him as an H-back,
Right.
at the NFL level. Like, you're not quite going full fullback, right, but you're going to use him occasionally. Maybe you'll play him in line sometimes, but you'll line him up, 2-point stance right behind where the tackle would sit so that you can fly him out of the backfield, and then you're just going to kick him out wide now and again because, to your point, he's the size of a receiver, height-wise. He's just got the frame of a small tight end.
It's crazy.
Jared Wiley. Is it Jared Wiley or Jared Riley? I think it's Wiley. Okay, so it was very funny today. I was talking him up a little bit to Grump. I like him. But I was like, he randomly just like slips like every 4 or 5 plays. And what did we see happen today? Like,
It was about every time he cut.
he goes good. He gets into the DB, cuts off, and then slips. Like, oh my god! Like this, like it's so random because he has like good athleticism and stuff. It's just like maybe he needs to like get new cleats. I was bothered by that. Bothered by that a little bit.
This was an opportunity, I think, for Johnny Wilson to show that he is not just
That's
a
who
big
it was.
guy, and he did not show that.
Well, like another Florida
He is
State
just a
wide
big
receiver, I think he should try and play tight end. Booger McFarland would do his, Popeye's joke about him. The Popeye's biscuit away from playing tight end. To me, I tweet out, I think he's a DB highlight reel.
Yeah.
Like it was like, okay, this is just easy. They can win leverage. They can fight back inside if they need to. Now he did have one good play where he just does this gangster release on this corner, this poor little corner, and is able to stack in front of him. But then, even then, he's not able he stacks him within like 5-6 yards because he just bullies them. But he's not able to separate at all. So the corner is able to recover. Like I don't know what his role is in the NFL if he has one, but if I wanted him in the 6th or 7th round, I'd be like, let's try him out at tight end because despite being 6'6", he's just not going to be someone who you can go out and just play wide receiver.
It's so funny you talk about a guy that size because, I'll use Jaden Reed as an example that we even saw a little bit of this at the Senior Bowl last year. You do not have to be a big person to play big. True, right? Like, you can go up and take the ball out of the air. You can outmuscle people for contested catches at pretty much any size in football. And Johnny Wilson is a reminder that you can play small at any size, too. I mean, Johnny Wilson is huge. His gait is insane. Sometimes the speed that he can get, it's really something special. But I swear, if a DB is in the area code, it's as if he's trying to make a contested catch and he just doesn't come away with a lot of them. It can be really frustrating to take.
Did anybody look a different size or speed than you were expecting today?
I expected Cam Kitchens to look bigger, but that's not a slight.
Mhm.
I mean, on Miami, he looks like a super person, right? Today, he looked like an NFL safety. A lot of the safeties got hung out to dry in that second half, so I'm not holding it against guys like Bo Brady, et cetera. I thought
Cam Kitchens, I wanted to see more. Like, he had a good rep in one-on-ones undercutting, and then sometimes these receivers cheat in one-on-ones when they run an in-route.
100%.
And then the safety would undercut it, right, and get the inside leverage, and they would just float up the field. It's like, well, that's not what you're doing in an NFL game,
Right?
But I thought he just was. And again, maybe this was coaching, but they just were playing him 8-10 yards off, and it was against Jaheim Bell, where there was one time where he kept backpedaling, and you heard the coach argue why are we moving back? What you should be going forward against this type of guy. So Cam Kitchens, who I love, I really really like him. I didn't see the same stuff that excited me about him. But at the same time, safety's hard down here, right?
Very hard.
Safety's not a one-on-one position. It's very much a game plan. Hey, this is what they like to run. This is the stuff for undercutting. And he's had 11 interceptions in 2 years at Miami. And while some of those have been batted up, they've been very real, amazing interceptions too. So, I want to see him do some wild shit, but I don't think. Unless he was just getting burnt, speed-wise and stuff, I would be worried. But it is what it is for him.
We got a question about running backs, and Grump, there was a running back that stood out to you today.
There's 2 running backs that stand out to me. They're both on the same team. Marshawn Lloyd from USC looks legit. I mean, he looks very comfortable. He's a lot faster than I expected. I don't know. I'm also a big fan of the running back from Troy, Vidal. today is not really the. I know Bobby was saying that we're running a lot of draws and stuff, but that's not actually a big running back day. We were only in uppers today, which is why running the ball a lot seemed weird. It seemed kind of fake. We're not really tackling, so it's not a great running back day. But one of the two main things I look for running backs down here are pass blocking and pass catching. Not a lot of pass blocking today, but pass catching, both of them looked good. So those were the two guys that I'm like honing in on for running back this year, and so far passed the test day one.
We got Kalen Deloach, and Marshall Lloyd. Anything on them?
Marshawn Lloyd is who I was
Marshawn
just talking about.
Okay, perfect.
Deloach, the Georgia back. No, that was
Was he
DeJuan Edwards.
Was he American team?
Yeah, he had a couple a defensive tackle got in the backfield, and he spun out of that, and then he had one he reversed. But if a guy reverses, they don't tackle. So it's like, did he actually have a nice reverse, or did he just get stopped and decide to run the opposite
Remember,
way?
I was joking around with somebody about one of the quarterbacks just took the ball. I think it was like Spencer Rattler or something, and just ran straight up the field.
In
And
individuals.
obviously, like nobody tackles him, right? Because that's how it works, and it always just looks so funny being out at practice because it's like, oh, look at him.
Who was the QB that ran in one-on-one?
That was Michael Pratt from Tulane.
Just throw the damn ball. No one's going to
Ridiculous.
judge you for throwing an interception if the DB is like, just throw the ball. Let the
Throw it.
DB make a play. Like,
We're not here to judge your running ability in
yeah, like if
individual
a quarterback throws an interception on a one-on-one, and it's simply just because the wide receiver is getting the shit kicked out of them, no one's going to
No one
judge
is.
the quarterback.
We're looking
for
at your
that.
feet and your release and stuff. If
Yeah.
anything.
Anything on Kyrie Jackson from Oregon? Long corner. I'm interested to see if he stood out, especially in 1v1s at all.
So what hurt Kyrie? It's Kyrie Jackson, right?
Kyrie Jackson, yeah.
Suddenly,
What did I say?
no, just checking. No,
Kyrie
I'm
Irving.
making sure just because my mind is so cluttered with all these names.
Mhm.
Kyrie Jackson's biggest problem was that Cam Hart was playing better than him. And they're both big, long corners. And the Golden Domer from Notre Dame, who I feel like hasn't gotten enough shine, at least in this draft cycle, had a really good day today. And so I think Jackson looked fine, plenty passable. I mean, the first group of DBs had way more wins than the second group. And I know I'm going to review the tape that I was able to just record on my phone and see if I can come up with anything else, right? Just to give you the quick, immediately after practice, I didn't think he looked bad. I just didn't think he stood out, right?
Before we do some more Senior Bowl stuff, since this is the live stream, I want to make it a little different.
We can wrap up soon, too.
Well, I want to hit over 30 minutes on it. Are the Bears going to keep Justin Fields?
I don't think so.
Like, is it simply just the fan, like a certain section of the fan base saying, is it? Or, I'll be honest, I don't love some of the stuff the Bears have done. Do you? Like, are they going to convince themselves to keep on? Like, okay, let me throw you at this. That DJ Moore trade was amazing. It's one of the best trade out of round first overall, right? Getting those picks and DJ Moore in it. Has it being such a good trade like convoluted them into thinking like, oh, we can just do that shit again?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the big question would be, let me ask you this, like flip it back on you. If you had to give up 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and Avon Thibodeau to come up and get.
See, this
Caleb
is the
Williams.
Bears. You guys keep on throwing in players in there.
I know.
Because you got DJ
Would
Moore.
you do it?
Not 3 firsts.
I wouldn't even do the
3
3 first-round picks.
See, I don't think another team will either. Right?
3 first-round picks.
Us-
I think the team would.
I think a team would think about it, but then you put the player in, right?
Yeah,
and all of a sudden it doesn't work.
No
anymore.
team's putting. That was simply the Panthers being stupid. Right, like when I got that trade alert last year, I was like, no, they threw DJ Moore in that. Like they threw a wide receiver 1 in a trade to get an.
It's something off Twitter. It's ridiculous, but we'll see.
We've had Bears fans tweeting like Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. Like, no, we are not trading our potential Hall of
That's
the
why
best
I
nose
at least
tackle.
tried to pick Tibbs, who has
Tibbs. Okay, Tibbs is
up and
someone who makes
down,
sense in that, but I don't know if the Bears want to do that instead of like another second-round pick or something.
I don't know, but I think that Ryan Poles is going to be that guy who tries to tell everybody that it's for sale, but you're going to have to blow him away. Like you're going to have to be willing to put a bullet in your foot, and if you don't, then
Get fleeced.
If you don't, then they're going to probably take a quarterback, and I for one will be okay with that.
On the Giants side, Joe Shane told the beat this morning that they should have a defensive coordinator by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Bobby Babich took the defensive coordinator job with the Bills.
That was after he said that.
Yeah.
So it feels like a two-man race.
The Chiefs guy can't be signed because he's in the Super Bowl. So I think Shane Bowen, like the Titans are thinking about keeping him. So that would probably cut him out.
And he also didn't get it. Nobody got a second interview besides Denard Wilson,
So
right?
is it going to be Denard Wilson or Jerome Henderson? Which again, were my number 1 and number 3.
Feels like a two-man race at this point.
Yeah, I really hope they're able to get Denard Wilson in here. Like I hope Friday's podcast we are talking about Denard Wilson.
Denard Wilson, and then you keep
defensive
Jerome
coordinator.
Henderson.
Well,
That's
that was going to be my follow-up question. Do you keep Jerome and Henderson if Denard Wilson comes? Does you keep? Does Jerome Henderson
The only
stay?
two position coaches that I'm really like, I would like to keep them if Denard Wilson's hired is Andre Patterson, defensive line, and then Jerome Henderson, secondary.
Correct.
Those are the two that's like, all right, I would like if you could stick around. I'm rooting for you to stick around, not even just like it. The rest, Denard Wilson, you decide kind of where you want to go and what you want to do.
Also, Justin, we asked somebody today who, like, I don't know if I trust them fully, but because like everyone we've asked says Mike Kafka's gone, right? Mike Kafka's gone, right? And even like you mentioned, Carl Banks tweeted about it. Art Stapleton has floated it out there as moving. And I asked him, what is the deal? Because everyone says that he's gone, but there's like nothing like substantial. And he's like, they're not going to let him interview for offensive coordinator jobs. If he gets a head coaching job with Seattle, sure. But like, I don't know what's going to happen there. Have you like kept up with like the Wink and Dable drama and stuff like that?
It's dramatic. It really is, especially given that they just let Wink pick their first round pick last year. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
who stoked. Like, I love Banks, but it's so funny. I couldn't help but agree with whatever you're saying that guy just told you. Like, why would you allow a lateral move, especially if you feel like you're a step away from the edge? Like, if you think that you're about to have somebody coming for your job, then you want some of the best guys that you have near you. Now, if Daboll chased off Kafka, would that change your opinion about Daboll? Well,
So we've talked about it, right? Like I actually took Dable's side on a lot of the Wink stuff. I don't want to get into all the details, but the stuff that came out about Kafka, I would be like, I think Kafka had more of a leg to stand on about being pissed with Dable than Wink actually did. But the question comes down to, does Dable want to call plays? Because if Dable wants to call plays, then he kind of should let Kafka go. Because he didn't come here to not call. He came here to be the play call. He left Kansas City to become the play caller. Right?
Yeah.
But again, I guess it's still to be seen. But I finally got one person to say that he's probably going to stay. So
Peter Hemstead asked about the Missouri guys. I know you talked about one at the top, right?
Darius Robinson, the D lineman edge. Again, like we'll talk about it a little bit on the recap, but it was like everything we said. Hey, I don't want to see you do what all these guys have done on the podcast today. Is exactly what happened.
Yeah, Abrams, Drain, Javon Foster, and Schrader. Any thoughts on those guys?
Say it again.
Abrams, Drain, Javon Foster, and Schrader.
No.
Layden
Robinson, the Texas A&M guard. I thought he had some nice, strong hands.
Yeah.
Like he kind of played up to his scouting report.
I also might have just got pranked and read names that they're not even telling the
No, I heard one that was real.
Javon Foster is real.
Yeah, Javon Foster's real. Javon Baker, I wanted to see. I don't want to talk about him much on the recap because it's like he didn't do anything.
Mhm.
But I wanted to see some wow shit from him. We really didn't see much at all.
He's
Even
one of
in
those-
one-on-ones, like you wanted to see at least one wow play from him. You didn't see it. We eventually got to put out the Javon Baker interview. We interviewed Javon Baker yesterday, and it was one of the more enjoyable interviews because it was just like, okay, you're just not going to answer questions. Every answer was basically like, just be a killer, be a dog.
Be a dog.
What's
your mentality here?
I was like begging him to like give me some type of specific answer. I was like, okay, 3rd and 6, corners playing 5 yards off. What are you going to? What are you like? Is it the release that's most important to you? The stem? He's like, just killing him.
What's your best traits as a player? Being a dog.
Guy has all the highlight plays in the world. Like maybe the best highlight tape out of anyone down here. And like, what's a play that you really have great recall on and want to talk about? He's like, a block I had when our running back broke the record. I'm like, okay, like, can you tell us about the block? He's like, I think it was Oklahoma State. And I'm like, okay, this is an unbelievably good. And Julian, who used to work, Julian,
Right.
He like kind of pumped us up to him. So we're like, yeah, Julian Bright, he works for you guys and stuff. And he was just like, Okay, like I don't care about Julian Bright, so that was
Great.
very funny.
Neither do we.
Yeah, yeah. Couple more. Anything more in the chat that we want to get to?
No, somebody mentioned McMillan. We've got questions.
McMuffin?
We got questions about a blocking tight end, but hey, I think that's kind of no offense.
Who's the blocking tight end?
I was just asking if there's blocking tight ends.
Yeah, here.
The Michigan guy is supposed to be. We didn't really see any of that.
He hit a top. He was one of the top 3 tight end top speeds today.
No one's
as
ever
well.
going to match our excitement about blocking as a tight end as Payne Durham.
Oh my god!
Oh my
no.
gosh. The
Legendary
guy.
last year.
The man.
Last year we were like starting off like videos of like Payne Durham's blocking is very fun. Was there anybody today that like had hype and it just like last year Andre Carter, the Army Edge, where it's like, okay, he's got some hype about him playing, and he's like, nope, he's gonna get bullied in the NFL. Was there anybody that like didn't like live up, like real, not like Xavier Legette didn't have the best day, just flat out didn't live up to it?
I don't know. Because like you're talking about, I mean, a lot of times that hype machine needs to have said something about a player. Like, I think Legette might be as close as we get to that, and that's not really fair to Xavier, right?
Like, okay, so example, Rashee Rice was like maybe the big name wide receiver last year.
Mhm.
Like Rashee Rice's struggles the first 2 days don't like.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying like those were real. No, those were real struggles to me.
Right, but they were.
But like, if we say Xavier Legette didn't have the best day, I think Xavier Legette had a much better day than Rashee Rice did last year.
I also really think that it hurt them that so the way that they did the wide receiver and corner drills was that they tried to get the safeties involved. Right. So they would have an outside wide receiver run an outside wide receiver route against a corner, and then they would have an inside receiver who squared up against a safety 10 yards off. And while I appreciate them trying to do that, it meant that you got nearly no in breakers from the outside receiver because they didn't want to run over the safety that was standing there waiting to do the drill. And so when we had to throw down the field, Joe Milton and whoever the quarterbacks were for this like American team, they just could not handle it. Like there were a couple moments where Legette won down the sidelines. Not that it mattered, and so there were pieces of the drill that worked against him in ways that I don't think Rashee and a couple others from last year had. They got featured better, right? They were on that one-on-one stage, and you could feel it. Whereas here, it felt like they were sharing it with somebody else who was just taking up a little too much space.
But like one more time with Rashee, and just as we're talking about this, it's only day one, and a lot can change. We would say that Rashee only had 2 bad days, and they were days that tested the things that he didn't do very well.
Yeah.
When he got to do things with more of a release, he looked fine on day 3, and he's had a fine time in Kansas City so far. So
yeah, because he's playing a lot of zone, which was like I think he's just gonna have to play like be on a team that faces a lot of zone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a trivia question.
Give me.
What player did Bally Sports compare to Cooper Cup behind us like 30 minutes ago?
No,
It's gonna be you're gonna say of course once it happens.
Luke McCaffrey.
No, that'd be a good one.
That's actually good.
Hence, they were from Georgia.
Lad McConkey.
Oh my gosh, Luke actually had a pretty good day. By the way, I know everybody's going to goof on Bloodline.
Lad had a good day too. He's Phil McConkey's son. No, he's not. No, he's not.
McConkey's towel son.
McConkey's towel son. All right, we've been streaming for almost 40 minutes here. We want to keep these somewhat short, somewhat recapable. So here's the thing. Today, because we have really good Wi-Fi at this awesome stadium, even though the sun's glaring and even though the wind's blowing, appreciate everybody hanging out today. We're going to have more tomorrow. We're going to have way more information tomorrow.
Well, the full recap video that's tight buttoned up, 20 minutes, that'll be out later today.
It's going to be out like pretty soon. So stay
one-on-one
tuned.
breakdowns are going to be really fun.
Yes, all on JM Football. Talk of Giants, you're going to be able to get the podcast. You're going to be able to get the live streams, but subscribe to JM Football. The link.
Put that shit in the chat.
The link is in the description below, especially if you're watching
shit in the chat
on the Talking Giants channel. We will see you in a little bit for a Senior Bowl recap, nice and tight. Thank you to the Football Grump. Thank you to Bobby Skinner. Thank you to Robert Schmitz.
We got to hold on. Let him get let's get the link to the Jam Football in the chat.
Oh my goodness gracious!
We got to make it easy for people. Not like the link in the description. It works, but we need.
I'm willing to bet. I'm gonna beat Jeff. Ready?
Spam that link.
I'm gonna beat Jeff. I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. I'm beat him. I'm beat him. Beat him.
Hold on.
Beat him.
I'm gonna beat all of you.
Nope.
You're all going different routes to do this too.
I'm from my Bob's Pool Service account, so I don't know if it's gonna work.
Got excuses suddenly.
There you go. Bang.
Did the Bob's Pool Service one pop up?
Nope.
You
Mine
got to have a
popped up
wrench
first.
to do it. That's
Gardner
not fair.
Minshew is
Mine
going to be
popped up
playing
first.
in the Pro Bowl game.
Wow.
Congrats, Gardner.
Gardner
I'm gonna
Minshew
be there.
Pro Bowler.
Congrats.
Are you really?
Yeah, it's in Orlando.
Oh shit! I didn't even realize.
All right, peace, everybody. We'll
All right,
see you tomorrow.
Let's go Big Blue. See you guys. Or if not, maybe Big Blue. Let's go whatever your team is.
Go with whatever your team is.
And just hop over to StreamYard and then end the stream there. Thank you, everybody.